Hi everyone, I'm Laura Gadenik. I'm a therapist and an astrologer, and I'm here to give you the astrology for the weeks of April 29th through May 12th, 2024. And I always try to kind of provide a therapeutic lens or a lens where we can utilize the energy and utilize our free will as much as possible. So today on Monday the 29th, we have Venus, goddess of love, beauty, connection, joy, pleasure, relationships, heading into her own home sign of Taurus. Taurus is a sign about nature, about the body, about sensuality, and experiencing pleasure through the senses. And so Venus going into Taurus suggests that, food might taste better. We might want to take longer, more luxurious baths. Like everything becomes a little bit more enjoyable and especially enjoyable to our senses and to our bodies. It's a really great time to be in nature, as the beauty and the pleasure of being in nature will be heightened. And Venus is the planet about relationships, and Venus being in her own home sign of Taurus suggests that there might be more ease and peace in relationships, and kind of more ease in expressing affection and maybe tensions being resolved. Like I mentioned before, there's going to be a greater sense of sensuality. And also, whatever topic or whatever house Taurus is for you in your birth chart, those themes are going to be sweetened. And this is really lovely too, because we also have Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, the other benefic. Jupiter is a planet about optimism, expansion, opportunity, peace, wisdom, expansion. And so having these two planets in the same sign together suggests that the Taurus part of your chart is getting an upgrade perhaps, or maybe some healing is happening there, just some like really good things happening in that area of your chart and in your life. So on Tuesday the 30th, I will say Venus does make a square to Pluto. Squares are 90 degrees between two planets, and they're more tense and can bring up conflict. Pluto is a planet of what's beneath the surface, what's subterranean, what's not being talked about, what needs to kind of, maybe what's been festering and like what needs to rise to the surface. So with Venus making a square to Pluto, pretty much immediately as she heads into Taurus, the first couple days of this might be, not as peaceful as we would like it to be. It might be a little bit more conflict oriented as we are navigating intense feelings in love and relationships. But ultimately, it's a really great time to kind of get that stuff out from under the rug and like talk about issues that need to be talked about, and be with the parts of ourselves that might feel unwanted or rejected, or like we're not lovable or good enough. All of these kind of Venusian things, like we're not, this sense of not being attractive enough, or we're not having enough fun, or things feel a little joyless. Sometimes with Venus square Pluto, intense feelings can come up around like maybe a lack of Venus things: joy, love, pleasure, sex, sensuality, connection. And there can be maybe even a sense of like crisis around those things, like, oh, why don't I have this thing? So it's a really amazing time actually to do some deep diving, maybe some writing around your own sense of worth and value, and maybe what do you find valuable in yourself? Where do you find worth inside of yourself? And if there's a part of you that feels alone or rejected or not loved in a relationship, or something along those lines, then it's really great to be with that part of yourself that maybe didn't get a need met in earlier years, and like kind of like literally imagine like adult you being with that part of you that feels bad, rejected, sad, alone, like something's not working in a relationship situation, and just offer presence and love if you can. That can really help. And speaking of love, Venus square Pluto can also like bring up a sense of like obsessiveness and compulsion in matters of the heart and matters of love. Power dynamics could be revealed in relationships, which could be good to talk about. There could be money issues that arise, maybe how you're spending your money, your financial situation, how like the money you're making, maybe a sense of like overwhelm or crisis around that. So it could be a good time to kind of do a deep dive into how you want to manage your money and financial situation, and really think about like, what is valuable to me? How do I want to spend my resources? And not only money as a resource, but my energy, my time, my affection. Where does it want to go? And wherever it's going, is that thing that I'm giving it to, is it feeding me back? Is it like providing back to me? So some things to think about. On the same day, Tuesday the 30th, Mars heads into Aries, its own home sign as well. So Mars is a planet about action, motivation, energy, but also conflict and aggressiveness and going after something. So this can increase our motivation and drive and energy to get things done and to be assertive. But it could also increase a competitive spirit, a fighting spirit. There could be like an increase in aggression. Sometimes Mars is a malefic planet. It's not, it's not Venus and Jupiter, the benefics, the planets that bring good things. However, Mars also can bring good things, but sometimes an increase in Mars means an increase in martial things. So not only assertiveness, leadership, taking action, energy, but also aggression and conflict and, So just something to watch out for. Okay. Thursday, April 2nd, Pluto stations retrograde at 2 degrees of Aquarius, and it's going to be retrograde, I think, until September. So it's going to be quite some time. And that's going to draw like this Venus-Pluto square. The fact that Pluto is stationing retrograde pretty much 2 days later suggests that we're kind of drawn into this, Pluto energy. Like whatever this Venus square Pluto brings up is more intense because Pluto is stationing retrograde, slowing down in the sky, stopping, stationing retrograde, moving backwards, according to our perspective from here on Earth. So yeah, if you have any planets or points at around 0, 1, 2, or 3 degrees of the fixed signs, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus, this is going to draw attention to these placements. There might be an increased sense of intensity, or just like things feeling like a bit more heavy, or like of life or death stakes. But this isn't the end of this process for you. This isn't the end of the journey. When Pluto comes back into Aquarius later in January, we're going to be revisiting this moment or this time frame. So also, I apologize if you hear loud noises in this video. It's because there's people in my house working on our sewage line, and so it's kind of loud, so I'm sorry. That's why I'm in the garage. Okay, so Friday, I meant to say Pluto stations retrograde on May 2nd, not April 2nd. So Friday, May 3rd, Mars makes a sextile to Pluto. Mars, once again, is a planet about energy, fighting, action, motivation, and Pluto is intensity, power, sometimes crisis. But with the sextile, which is a more positive aspect, this feels like an intense drive to do, to achieve. It feels like going after something and being successful and feeling very like confident and courageous. So really good day to be courageous, essentially. On Monday the 6th of May, Mercury, which just recently stationed direct and is moving forwards again, is making its third conjunction with Chiron, an asteroid about a wound or something that feels painful or hurtful. And so this might mean that we're having conversations or discussions around a wound, around something that's maybe been anxiety inducing or tender. Mercury is a planet that represents the mind and represents conversations and messages and news and how we think. So it could be a really good time to even do some journaling or reflection around like, what has been hurting? What has been tender? What have I been maybe taking personally? Things that we take personally often reflect a trigger of like what was hurtful in the past that we are projecting onto current situations. And often we know that it might be a projection if someone does something or something happens and we have a bigger emotional response than the situation lends itself to, if that makes sense. So this is an opportunity for growth, for resolution, for tending once again to our own wounds. This is the third pass of this aspect. So Mercury first made this conjunction with Chiron all the way back on March 20th. So thinking back to around that time, what conversations were happening, what were you thinking about, what were you doing, what was happening around that time. And then the second time was April 15th, also related to the situation, what was going on then. And this is kind of like the third pass, resolution, resolve. Hopefully we've done some healing work or have been able to be with and tend to our wounds. So on the same day, the sun makes a sextile to Saturn. Saturn's a planet about longevity, commitment, hard work, sustainability. So this is a good time to knuckle down, be productive, get something done. And then on Tuesday, May 7th, we have a really beautiful new moon in Taurus. It's beautiful because the moon is exalted in Taurus, meaning the moon is like treated as a special guest in the sign of Taurus. And we also have Venus here. Venus rules Taurus. We have Jupiter in Taurus, like I mentioned before. So whatever seeds you're wanting to plant or intentions you're wanting to set, it just feels like a really potent time to do that, where the whatever is going to be blossoming is going to be really luscious and delicious and beautiful, and it's going to be, yeah, like this, like new moons, when we have new moons, it kind of like the energy around that new moon, like whatever else is happening astrologically speaking, sets the tone for the entire moon cycle ahead, for the entire month ahead. So it really feels like the next month ahead with this new moon in Taurus is going to be really full of sensuality and pleasure, and hopefully more peace. I don't know about worldwide per se, but maybe in our own personal lives or within relationship dynamics, or being able to like experience the world around us and welcome it in and it feel good and enjoy life a little bit more. So yes, the intentions for something to grow during this new moon in Taurus is actually quite potent. So I invite you to set an intention and set an intention for what you would like to see grow with this new moon in Taurus. Okay, so that is the astrology for the next couple weeks. I hope this was useful. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. I love to hear how the astrology is impacting you. If you're interested in a reading and how this is all showing up in your personal birth chart, because it's very specific to each person, reach out. I'm available for consultations. Otherwise, I'll be back in a couple of weeks with another astrological update. Take care.